Hello, and welcome to the palest episode of the Rock Gut Review yet. My name is Felicity Jones-Teeth, and I'm here with Daisy Ridley's ponytail. No, my name's Ed, and this is Eric Schmalz from Ray's Liquor. Well, Ray's Wine and Spirits.
Yes.
And he is the man I want to grow up to be one day.
Well, that would be weird because I'm younger.
Younger
but I guess it works.
I've got the Benjamin Button disease.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense then.
But as part of your job over at Ray's, so you're the spirit. I don't actually know what your title is.
My title is Spirit Specialist.
Spirit Specialist.
Yes. They asked me once. They're like, "We're gonna get you business cards." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. What do you want them to say?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." But it's a good coincidence because I'm going for the certification of Certified Spirit Specialist through Society of Wine Educators. So
cool.
It'll actually line up really, really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where are you in that process?
I mean, it's like a really long textbook that you basically just read through and then memorize and do a test. So I'm like halfway through the text right now. Yeah. Some of it's hard, some of it's, easy.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Nice. So, as part of your job as the spirit specialist,
yes,
you get to do barrel picks for Ray's Wine and Liquor. And I work for them. You're kind of my boss, actually.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So, I work for Ray's as a part-time cashier. So, we're going to plaster the Ray's logo right now. We're going to...
Just everywhere.
Everywhere. All over the place.
Like bad virus pop-ups.
Exactly.
90s.
Oh, man, I forgot about those. Those used to be the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get to do barrel picks for the store. And so I'm pretty sure most of our viewers have had a barrel pick or heard about barrel picks before.
Yes.
But I figured we could walk through the process and then taste through some of the ones you've done for the store.
Sure.
So these are mostly bourbon here, which our viewership is going to love because everybody loves bourbon right now. So that's perfect. We do have one other one that I'm excited to try.
This guy right here. This is a rum.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And this was not actually picked through Ray's at all. This was independent. So.
Get out of here.
Oh. Well, I wanted to bring it because there's a very good juxtaposition between there's some parts that overlap with retail and independent, but then there's a big variety between the two as far as what to look for, what not to look for, what will have the appeal and what won't. So
sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So for doing it for retail,
yes. How
does that process start? You just walk into the distillery and you slap somebody and give me a barrel.
No. That would probably get you banned for life. So for retail, it can either go one of two ways. First things first, you'll have to talk to your rep for a particular company. So let's say, we're looking at Woodford Reserve and we're saying oh, Jacob, who's our rep for that, we want a barrel of Woodford Reserve. What can you do? And he'll go talk to his boss, and then they'll talk to the actual allocator of barrels, and they'll say, all right, we can do this on this date. And then from there, you either get to go to the distillery or you get kits.
Okay.
Kits are the little 200 milliliter sample bottles usually from 3, sometimes, if it's a nice distillery, if it's craft, they'll sometimes send you as many as you want. And that's really, really nice. But it's usually 3. You get to try them and you pick out of the 3. Or if you actually go to the distillery, they'll have barrels laid out, anywhere from between 6 to 9. You can taste from all of them. You can taste from a couple. Depends on the distillery, I guess, and their time. But then you pick from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's pop out the Woodford Reserve. So this is actually, I love this because we actually got our own little label on the back, which is Whiskey Magic. Oh, I really dig this. I was trying to find number 52 because I'm a DC nerd. I got 21 instead for my favorite K-pop group. So that'll work.
Fair.
So in this case, so you're going through a distributor. They're going to the distillery and saying, "Hey, what can you get for us?" So now this is a single barrel of Woodford Reserve we select, or is this not a single barrel?
So I was saying Woodford Reserve single barrel. They actually don't do true single barrels.
Okay.
Anytime you pick with them, you have to take 2 barrels and you have to blend them together. That's just their process. That's what they want you to do. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and the process itself is really cool. Like, we actually got to sit down with kits and try them, proof them down, do all the blending that a master distiller would. And they actually had the assistant master distiller, Elizabeth McCall, present while we were doing this.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah. So, and there was a whole, guiding, sort of, not really approval, but, don't go this direction.
Yeah.
Do these things.
They're leaning on you a little bit.
Yeah.
Talk about that process, because you're actually getting to be the blender on this one. So
yeah.
what was the guiding hand of Woodford Reserve saying? What were they trying to get you to do?
I mean, it's their product. They want you to have the best possible outcome.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also they want to represent themselves well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you get these 3 barrels, you try them, you say, okay, these are really good. These are, this one's funky. But they sort of ease you to oh, well, why don't you try the 2 better barrels and see what happens first?
Sure.
So it's sort of like PR, hey, make it good. But it happens with everything. Eagle Rare 1792, all of these single barrels are pre-selected.
Sure.
So the distiller or generally a tasting panel will get samples pulled from the barrels in the rick houses. They'll try them all. They'll say, all right, these we can put to the side for single barrel selections. And then these other ones will get, thrown into the small batches, the 200 barrel blends that we don't really care about.
Yeah.
That flavor in there. So
there's an element of quality control going on before you even see a barrel.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just picking a random barrel. And then in this case, they're adding in the fact that they're giving you 2 barrels so that you can blend it together and you can again control the quality even a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, this process was really, really cool. Doing these 2 barrel blends, it's you find that the weird outlier barrel makes the other 2 that are good on their own even better.
Okay, sure.
So when we were doing this, the weird outlier was really, really floral. It basically tasted like you liquefied potpourri and you were drinking it. It was God, this is just Japanese, like pea blossoms and all this other stuff. But then when we tried it with the best on its own barrel, all those flavors just came together really, really well.
Sure. So in that case, are you using... When you're combining those barrels, are you trying to use just a little bit of the worst one just to fill it out, or are you using more one of the other?
No. So it's
Or are you blending them equally?
Yeah. You blend them equally because single barrels, will have different fill levels.
Yeah.
Angel share, all that, but they're not gonna do a 60% this barrel, 40%. Because what are they gonna do with the leftover?
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, they don't want to put it out on its own, and they don't want to give it to a different company. That would be really weird.
They want to offer just the exact amount they have. For you.
Yeah. So you did a 1-to-1, 20 mils. Tried that.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, because this one, I wouldn't say it's super floral, but I am getting kind of an orangey zest thing, and. Because when you say floral, and I was like, man, this isn't floral at all. This is more charred wood, marshmallow, burned marshmallow kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
I get that a lot on the palate, with just a hint of zest and honeysuckle. I really wish they'd let us keep those sample bottles. They took them away.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you get kits, they're well, we're not going to take it back, so whatever. Just to try them all on their own with the whole team,
Yeah, cool. For sure. That would have been cool. God dang you, Woodford Reserve. Give me my whiskey.
Right.
So actually, I think that brings us to an interesting point, because this one, you have a little bit more control of what you choose to put into it. But with this Eagle Rare one right here, this was actually truly just a single barrel.
Right, so just one single barrel picked out.
Right. So in this case, how many options did you get?
3. Yeah, 3. We only got a kit of 3.
Yeah. But in that case, you just had to pick the one you liked the best out of those 3.
Right. So, and this brings it back to what will the audience like? oftentimes when you're picking a barrel, it's only 1, 2, maybe 3 people actually sitting down and trying it all and saying like, hey, I like this, you like this, but at the end of the day, it's like what is going to have the most appeal?
Mm-hmm.
What is the mass market going to like? Even like for this one, I liked a different sample. I really loved it, and it turns out in hindsight, like the flavors were, for me a little bit better than this one turned out. But like, that's just personal.
Okay.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So, actually, I don't want to drink every single one of these a big pour, but I'm just gonna grab a tiny sample of this one. So with this one, we sold out in about half an hour, I think.
Yes, it was. We opened at 8. We sold out at 8:27.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Wisconsin, especially southeastern Wisconsin, does not see a whole lot of Buffalo Trace products.
No.
God,
no.
I would actually say we see, well, for retail, we see like one bottle of Buffalo, the regular old Buffalo Trace for retail, we see one like every 6 months, 4 months.
Yeah, we'll get like a couple and we'll put them out, occasionally, just so that one person's not like, oh, you guys have 3 bottles of Buffalo Trace, yoink, and then we're out for another 4 months.
Right. So there was a run on the store for this one.
Yeah, there was people like lined up all the way down like to the end of the block, probably 100 people.
Jeez.
Before the store even opened.
And we had like 120 some
120, yeah, I think a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But around there, yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I got this bottle is because I promised the director I would talk up Ray's on this episode.
Yeah.
Ray's.
All the time.
Ray's. Yeah, all the time Ray's in Wauwatosa on 90th and North.
Yep.
But yeah, okay, so we're talking about trying to get the most widely appealing bottle. Mm-hmm. How do you put your finger on that pulse? What do you think is the most widely appealing?
Well, so for a lot of these, if we have an open sample, like say for Knob Creek, if we had an open off-the-shelf single barrel, we would taste it against that.
Okay. So
being like, what is the distillery putting out? And then can we get close to it? Or is there one that has a little bit more complexity, but is still, in that wheelhouse?
Sure.
But if we can't, usually we'll go with the one that's least offensive.
Okay.
First of all, and then has the best depth of flavor.
Mm.
So like when we were picking this, there was one that was just really flat, didn't have a lot of character to it, so we're like, all right, that's automatically out. And then between the last two, the one that I personally enjoyed more had a really, really tannic upfront taste.
Okay.
And that threw off the other guys that were picking, and we were like, okay, well, we're not going to go with this one. We're going to go with this one, which has like a nice round flavor, a nice, caramel, vanilla, classic bourbon.
Yeah, it very is. And much like a lot of Eagle Rares, I would say I get that big, fruity, dark cherry note.
Yeah, definitely.
It is... I would say this is less that super sweet cherry, though, and more of like a kind of a sour cherry thing than the regular Eagle Rare. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely interesting to see the difference.
Yeah.
But it is in the same vein as some of those other Eagle Rare releases that you find. Yeah.
And it's like the master distiller will pick out these barrels, but like sometimes even after these kits go out, the barrels are still sitting there and aging. So you can get samples sent that are like really off profile and funky, and some stores really go for that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of off profile single barrel picks, go check out our Garrison Brothers review. So the link is somewhere in the ether. That was a barrel that the Texas Whiskey Trail people picked it.
Sure.
Then it sat for a month in the Texas heat and completely turned.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think my tasting note was sour piss.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it got really bad. It was our number 3 worst whiskey for last year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate.
And I'm sure when you were picking that, everybody loved it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. Because and the woman who did the original picking got a hold of us and said, hey, this was so good when we first got it, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But at that point, it's like, what are you going to do about it?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Okay, but yeah, so that's actually an interesting point, though, is like trying to pick the least offensive thing. Because I could go for heavy tannic, like really wood spicy stuff.
Yeah.
But I could see where, as a retail outlet, you might not want to sell that, or you try to sell that to people.
I mean, yeah. And in the case of Eagle Rare, it's like, we sold out in 27 minutes. People didn't even get to try. Like, people go for this. They just go 100%. They're going to drink it anyway.
Right.
But a lot of times it's like, let's say with like the bottled and bond that we didn't necessarily sell out of right away. Well, if somebody tries it and puts it out there like, hey, this tastes like sour piss, then our sales are going to go, tank super quick.
Right.
So.
And I don't think I'm going to pour myself any bottled and bond, but I've had this quite a bit, and I love it because it is kind of the opposite of the Eagle Rare. This one is much more spicy, dry. I mean, it's still caramely vanilla-y, as a bourbon would be, but it is sharper, more pokey, kind of clovey kind of taste, which I dig. I think this is actually one of the first barrel picks that I had from Ray's, and I was like, I need to buy this.
Yeah. My first barrel pick from Ray's was last year's Foolproof 1792.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, that was the first one I ever bought, and that was a monster, but it was really good. So, like, 1792 does really good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because this was actually something, we have another 1792, because if I remember correctly, we've got a 1792, this is a 2-barrel blend.
Yes.
And this is a single barrel.
Right.
So this one is more like the Woodford Reserve Magic.
Yes, correct. So like the 2-barrel blend, they put out single barrels of the bottle and bond, the Foolproof, their regular tan labeled single barrel. But for the small batch, they're like, well, we're not going to put out a product that has the word small batch on it and then have a little sticker that says single barrel. Yeah. So they stuck with the theme, like, you can blend 2 barrels together and have your quote-unquote small batch.
Right. That makes sense. I do know that, okay, so one thing we had, because even though it does say small batch on this well, it says small batch on the top. It does say 2-barrel blend on this little sticker. But someone came into the store, and if you see, it does say single barrel on there. I remember someone got mad at us, like, this is a 2-barrel blend, you can't put a single barrel sticker on here.
Yep, that's why we plaster on all of our promotional materials 2-barrel.
Yeah.
This is a 2-barrel blend.
Yeah. Well, and I was wondering about that, and you had told me this, that we don't actually get to control these little stickers that much.
Correct. So, like, yeah, all of these little silver or gold stickers, I don't know if it's Kentucky Distillers Association or if it's like all the distilleries came together and were like, we're going to put this small sticker right here and we're going to color it gold for the rest of time. But we only get to submit a logo to them, and they put it as best they can on the sticker, and then they put whatever else they want on the sticker.
Sure.
So that's why this says 2-barrel blend, single barrel.
Right. Yeah. So if you get mad at us for that, it's not our fault, we swear.
Nope, 100%.
Okay, so we've talked about a couple retail ones. Why don't we talk about this guy?
Sure.
This one is, because you were saying this was independent of the retail process.
Right.